So when you move abroad, one of the things you've got to remember are the things or the services or the assets that you leave behind in that country. One of them is pensions. Now I say plural pensions because I've got a few. Now when you leave an employer, you often, if you've got a company employment scheme, which I think is a legal requirement now in the UK, every employer should give you a pension. When you leave that employer, that scheme generally gets frozen. And if you then join another company and you leave that company, that scheme gets frozen. The challenge is you end up with a lot of pension pots full of your money, your tax-free money, just sitting there. And as you move from one house to the next, your address changes and eventually maybe they lose track of you or you lose track of the pension. So my biggest advice, I think, when you move abroad regarding pensions is try and merge them all into one pot. Now you'll probably need to do this before you move, because a lot of them need a UK address on your pension profile, not an abroad address. Otherwise it relates to tax and it can be tricky. So before you move, find out all of your pensions that you've got frozen, whether they're employment pensions or private pensions, and I'd suggest migrating them all into one. It makes it easier. That's what I've done. I've got one pension which I think's with Aegon, and I've merged two other pensions into that one pension pot. It means that when it comes to it and you retire, you don't have to speak to lots of different companies to try and coordinate getting that money. Now, there is another consideration as well, and I didn't know this about the English state pension, but you need to have at least 10 years, full years of contributions of national insurance in order to qualify for getting a state pension. I didn't know this, and the thing is, if you move abroad, you stop paying national insurance contributions, and of course that means you stop paying into your state pension pot. If you have 10 years or more, and they don't have to be consecutive years, they can be 5 years and then a 2-year break, maybe you had a baby, and then 5 years again. But if you have less than 10 years, it's important that when you move abroad, you keep paying into your national insurance contribution for the pension, because otherwise when you do retire, you'll have no UK state pension at all. I've got more than 10 years, so that should be fine. The state pension is tiny, may not even be a state pension by the time I retire. But I think the point about private pensions is really, really important. So merge them all into one pot is my advice. Disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor. Merge them into one pot before you leave the UK or before you leave a UK address, and then it just makes it much simpler in my opinion. Anyway, on pensions, a boring topic. Have a good day, folks.